Hello again. Wanted to talk to you a little bit today about anxiety. Because honestly, I believe it's one of the most underrated and most destructive forms of mental deficiency that we as human beings can have. And what I mean by that, how it's underrated, is that honestly, I think we as practitioners, as well as the general public, I think have conditioned ourselves to believing, well, if you just learn these sets of skills, if you just take this pill, bam, no more anxiety. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. And what I also believe is that a lot of the public really doesn't know just how prevalent anxiety can be. So let me kind of give you a little bit of a quick education. So any anxiety disorder has a set of symptoms and a specific diagnosis, but they're all related to anxiety. So, for example, there is post traumatic stress disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, um, generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder. Now, all of those sound very different, but they have one thing that combines them all running through it, and that's anxiety. Um, and the really sneaky thing about anxiety is it can really impact how we form relationships, how we maintain relationships, and even how we interact with people in our everyday lives. And what I mean by that is that, we develop these little quirks like trying to control everything in our lives and our environment so we don't feel so unsafe anymore. We don't have uncertainty. That is definitely one thing anxiety can create. It can also create a condition where we obsess horribly about situations that we should not even be giving a second thought. And what I mean by that is, I don't know, essentially other people's business. You know, obsessing on what our coworkers are doing, what our family's doing, what people are thinking about us, how they look at us, how we see ourselves, how we look, everything. And what it does is it creates an element of stress and agitation in the human conditions to where you could literally project everything that's going on in your own head onto someone else and almost convince them that they are doing the exact behaviors that you believe they are doing. Even though they have tried to convince you otherwise, you are convinced that that's the case. And what I find is that folks who follow that path of logic do create their own self-fulfilling prophecies to tragic ends. And what I mean by that is that someone with really bad anxiety can have a very healthy and happy relationship, but when they get this thought in their head that the other person is being unfaithful, they have the ability or the propensity to pick at that person on that one issue repeatedly over and over and over again. And even if they relax a little bit, they inevitably go back to it as soon as they see something that they think is out of character. Now, again, if they're projecting, they're seeing things that individual has never seen in themselves, nor has anyone else seen in them that has known them, if not all of their lives, a pretty good chunk of it. And so, what that creates is an atmosphere of uncertainty, an atmosphere of stress, and an atmosphere of fear, to where you don't know what's real, what's not. You think you're crazy. You get to the point to where you yourself start to believe some of the things that are thrown at you. You question your logic, and to the point to where you end up basically flashing and snapping at someone verbally. and in some tragic cases physically, unfortunately. But uh, thing about that is that bruises heal, and injuries from words do not. They can linger for a very long time, and so what what needs to happen is communication, but not even just communication, but setting healthy boundaries. Right up front, if you see somebody engaging in that type of behavior where they put you immediately on the defensive, or they go from zero to crazy in a matter of seconds, instead of doing the mistake that I did, trying to pacify the situation because that's my professional training, to actually saying, look, I am not going to put up with that behavior, and I am not going to engage with you right now, because all we'll end up doing is insulting each other and causing more emotional pain than is necessary, or frankly, that is warranted. So, it's simple things like that, but they have to be consistent. The thing is, with people that have had challenges in their lives and even have overcome them, if they do not have consistency, that creates doubt. That creates fear, ergo anxiety, and everything that comes with it. So yes, I agree, medication can help. Skills like dialectical behavioral therapy and even cognitive behavioral therapy help. I would recommend you looking both of those up. They go by DBT and CBT. They are very invaluable skills, skills that I have been blessed enough to teach, but also incorporate into my everyday life. Do they work 100% of the time? Well, that depends on the person working them. The also sneaky thing about anxiety is that, yes, it can go away, but you have to do the footwork necessary to do the maintenance on your condition to make sure to keep that anxiety at bay. And I don't know why this is, but a lot of people that, do get to that state of wellness somehow forget that all the maintenance they did to get to that point somehow does not need to be continued. And guess what? It really does, because what happens is you get comfortable, you get back into patterns of behavior that at first you saw were more destructive. And pretty soon you're right back where you started from, and you really don't know how you got there. And what I'm here to say is that if you do not do the maintenance that is required to keep that anxiety at bay, the anxiety will control you, and you'll end up in situations you didn't intend on happening, and all because in the moment you were wanting answers you could not get satisfied. You wanted answers to questions that you can't get the satisfaction answer from. And that, in a nutshell, is anxiety and the destructive power of it. The blessing is it only has as much power as the anxious person gives it. If you say, I don't need to go there, then guess what? The anxiety doesn't have any power. So take your power back, relax, don't forget to breathe, and for God's sake, get over yourself, because I have myself. And believe you me, it's a blessing. Take care.